Hello, future toppers. Welcome to a streak initiative of Civils Daily to ensure consistency in your day to day preparation. My name is Santosh Gupta, and I am back with the most probable question for Prelims 2021 in environment and ecology. And if you have not joined the streak initiative yet, you must join in the description section. Also, do not forget to join our Telegram group. And if you want to solve questions under a mentorship, then you may consider to join our prelims test series for 2021 and 2022. So moving on to the first question. Which of the following are regarded as ecosystem services? So we know that ecosystem services are those services which are provided by ecosystem for the welfare of humanity and welfare in general, those who are ensure sustenance on the life of the earth, and those are of four types. But before going into that, let's solve this question. Ecosystem service, soil formation. Yes, it is due to ecosystem only. Working of microorganisms on the soil, on the rocks will lead to soil formation. Nutrient cycling. We know that nutrition is recycled through a biogeochemical processes in which ensure that transfer of nutrient from geological source at earth to plant to air and back to the plant. So nutrient cycling and recycling is also an ecosystem services. Habitat for wildlife. So we know that nature provide habitat for the wildlife, both either it is aquatic like rivers, wetlands and oceans, or terrestrial like forest, savanna, prairie and other type of terrestrial landscape. Then climate regulation. We know that forest and what equal forest and the aquatic system, they regulate the climate, they regulate the cloud formation and the rain on the earth. And tourism is a kind of cultural services. If you have wetland, you have lake, then you can go for boating. If you have river, then you can go for rafting. You have oceans, then you can go for all kinds of ocean tourism. So all these five are are included in the ecosystem services. So your answer will be D here. But let's go to understand what are the kinds of ecosystem services. Regulating services, like it purifies the air, regulate climate, then water runoff will manage the water level on the surface, then erosion, natural hazards, pollination that provides crops and then for us. Then you have supporting services like nutrient cycling, just discuss water cycling, water purification. Then you have soil formation, photosynthesis, then provisioning get food, fuel, water and other things from the upper ecosystem. So see, most of the things that we need to survive come from the ecosystem, whether it is provisioning, supporting and regulating. And for the recreation also, our needs are recreation also. So that way we have our ecotourism, boating, rafting, all these things. So here all of them will be true. Second question, which of the following is are the causes of coral bleaching in India? So we have to understand the coral bleaching concept in India. We have corals like Andaman Nicobar and the Gulf of Mannar, Gujarat, Kutch regions, and also somewhat along the western coast and eastern coast. So what are the corals? Corals are like symbiotic animals. We have calcified cells and there are zooxanthellae, algae. And when coral bleaching will occur, coral bleaching, it means corals have very vibrant colors. But when you call it bleaching, it means it has lost the color. Just like bleach will lost the colors, it will give a whitish color of corals. So it will lose its vibrant colors. It means the algae are partially or fully dead and it leaves the coral cells. So first, excessive sedimentation in the reef ecosystem. So if you are dumping excessive sediments in the oceans, then reefs will be destroyed. The corals, algae, they will not able to make their own food. So that way it will die. Then excessive nutrients like ammonia and nitrates entering the reef system. So these two also will create algal booms in the ocean water, and they will take up the nutrients from the corals and also reduce the dissolved oxygen level, so it will also create bleaching. Then increase exposure to ultraviolet, that leads to killing of the, even ultraviolet is harmful to us also, so corals को तो नुकसान होना ही है. Then repeated El Nino and La Nina. So we know that in India only in 1998 when El Nino was came, it led to change in the water level, precipitation patterns, and at some places will have the exposure of the corals to the atmosphere due to change in the current and wave. So that way El Nino basically harms and creates up to 90% of severe coral bleaching, but La Nina is a favorable condition. So 4 will not be true here, only 1, 2 and 3 will be true here. So let's understand more in a bit about the other regions of the coral bleaching. Pehla, change in the ocean temperature. More, if you increase the temperature, then coral cells will leave out the algae and it will lead to bleaching. Then runoff and pollution, that will kill the algae. And ocean exposure to sunlight, that will expose them to soil water corals to ultraviolet and other. And also ocean acidification is one reason in which the coral cells, their calcified cells, will dissolve in the water if you decrease the pH level of the oceans, that is occurring these days due to dumping of lots of carbon dioxide in the oxygen, taking up the carbon dioxide due to global warming and other reasons. Extreme low tides will also expose the corals to the air and to sunlight, and that will lead to bleaching. So all these are the major reasons of coral bleaching, and we know that corals are the rainforest of the oceans, and they provide huge amount of oxygen supply to the earth and to the lungs of the earth, and also they have very high biodiversity, and most of them are yet to be studied. So we need to protect our corals, and we need to protect from all these causes that are harming and causing coral bleaching. So moving on to the next question, it is on the eutrophication. Which of the following contribute in the cultural eutrophication? This question is not in general about the eutrophication, but cultural eutrophication. So we know you have the two kinds of eutrophication. One, cultural, that is caused by the deliberately by the human being, knowing unknowingly, that is going on. And one is natural eutrophication, that goes on over the centuries through a natural process. We'll come to the difference later. First option is excessive use of fertilizers. So when you are dumping excessive fertilizer, either runoff from the agricultural field, or when you use the fertilizer for aquaculture or mariculture, so that will enhance the algal bloom in the sea, and that led to eutrophication. Untreated sewage will have nitrogen and phosphorus there, so that will also cause algal blooms. Then detergents containing phosphorus are main chief causes of harmful algal blooms. The discharge of industrial waste, that also will have the nitrogen and phosphorus into them. Then acid rain will decrease the pH of the water bodies, and also increase the nitrogen in the water body. So all this will lead to eventually a cultural eutrophication, in which dissolved oxygen level from the water body declines, and ultimately it turns into black, means it will not have any oxygen left. So if you do not have any oxygen left in the water bodies, all the aquatic animals will die. They will not able to take oxygen from the air. They will, because they only take water from the through gills from the water, especially fish and frogs and other species. So here first all your species will die, and then they will further be biodegraded by the bacteria, and then again they will take up the oxygen level, and then eventually all the oxygen level in the water bodies are consumed, and whole layer is either covered by water hyacinth, or it will be may not be covered, and it will turn out black. So here all of them will be true. And let's understand the basic difference between natural and cultural eutrophication. So you have over the years erosion of soil, rocks, plant pollen, and forest fire. All these provide some of the nutrients and sediment to the water bodies, and eventually though eutrophication occurs over the thousands of hundreds of years, in which lakes gets filled and filled and filled and water levels decline. We have many such lakes in the high altitude areas. That has occurred over hundreds and centuries. But in the plains and when human habitat exists, we have all these industrial domestic wastewater, drainage from households and everywhere, even from our makeup and everything, that are contributing to the, even the agriculture field, they are contributing lots of nutrient into the water bodies. This is also called a nutrient pollution that will lead to cultural eutrophication. So first stage, the nutrition level in the water body will increase. In second stage, those will lead to very high algal blooms and water hyacinth that will cover the, and that will disallow sunlight into them. And then third stage, all the species will start dying, and then those will be further decomposed, and oxygen level will be taken up the bacteria, and eventually even the bacteria will die, and that will taken over by the those kinds of species which survive without the oxygen, and other kinds of like fungus and other kinds of species, and that will water will be without any organic matter. So eventually it will be called as black. So if you can see, it is a positive feedback loop lead to cultural eutrophication, and very specific efforts have to be taken to treat any water body from the cultural eutrophication, including supply of fresh water, removal of the excess nutrients and everything. And this nutrient pollution is one of the major cause of the disappearance of the aquatic water diversity. Okay, the next question on the ozone depletion. We know that ozone depletion is often in the news over the Antarctica. In 70s it was discovered. What is the problem when you have ozone depletion? Then UV ultraviolet rays will start coming on the earth, and it will hurt our eyes, skins, and other wildlife species and aquatic species, and it may cause more and more cancer into human being. So that's why we are more and more concerned about it, and we even have the ozone treaty for that, Montreal and Vienna Treaty and Montreal Protocol, recently Kigali. So let's understand the basic difference why the ozone depletion occurs over either Antarctica or Arctic, not any other parts of it of the world. There are most two places where it has been discovered, and hole is not like a normal hill. It only reduce the thickness of ozone layer in the Dobson unit and just above the troposphere level. So when you have ozone in the stratosphere level, it is beneficial. It is beneficial to protect us from the harmful ultraviolet B rays. And when you have those ozone formation in the troposphere, it acts as a pollutant that will hurt our eyes and cause skin irritation, also interfere the biological process in plants. So let's understand the process that occurs in the ozone depletion. So which of the following are the reasons for ozone depletion in polar stratospheric cloud? So when you talk about the ozone depletion, there is a term polar stratospheric clouds. These are the clouds only get formed in the colder month, in the winter, Arctic winter or Antarctic winter, when you have very low temperature. In the stratospheric region, you have normally have the clouds in the troposphere, but these are the specific clouds PSC that get forms in the stratosphere. So they first option is they convert free radicals of halogen to oxide, which then reacts with ozone, causing exit. That is this is not true. This is otherwise. Those convert halogens into free radicals, then will lead to the depletion. So first will not be true. They remove gaseous nitric acid, which reacts with oxides of halogens. So they will basically what happens, normally you do not have ozone depletion because nitric acid that forms through normal reaction that will be removed by the that is not removed, and they take up the oxides of halogen. So you do not have a normally have a free radicals. So ozone depletion does not occur. But when you have PSC, it acts as a substrate and it removes the nitric acid, and then you have the free radicals that is interfering with the that will deplete the oxygen level. So let's understand this concept again. In without polar stratospheric clouds, you will have yellow chloride oxide and methane and chloride nitrate, that it acting as a reservoir and does not deplete ozone. But when you have PSC as a substrate, that chlorine nitrate, it will react further with the chlorine molecule in visible sunlight, and then you will have a, it is removing the nitric acid, and you have a free radical of chlorine that will act with react with the ozone layer, and then you will have ClO, and then again you will have free oxygen level, and then ClO. That ClO again will react with create chlorine free radical and again react with ozone, and then so this is a very a positive feedback loop, and that that very like increase the rate of ozone depletion once you have a formation of polar stratospheric cloud that acting as a substrate for the reaction which causes the depletion of ozone. And in winter gets heightened because under it can form only under extremely low temperature like minus 70 degrees and others. So it occurs in the stratosphere only. So moving on to the last question, consider the following statement about the acidification. We have the acidified ocean water leads to reduction of sulfur, which may lead to decreased cloud formation and rising global temperature. So you have to understand the process that when you acidified the ocean, you will have low pH value, and that leads to low formation of dimethyl sulfide, and which eventually turns into sulfate oxide, and which helps in they act as a cloud formation nuclei that helps to form the cloud formation. So sulfate aerosol very crucial for the formation of the let's say cloud. So this first option is definitely true. But in the second, ocean acidification occurs through the uptake of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere only. So ocean acidification, most of the time you have ocean water body absorbing carbon dioxide from the ocean through an atmospheric exchange process. But when you have the animals and lots of species getting dying in the ocean, or you have a eutrophication activity going on, then you will actually have the release of CO2 from those decomposition of them, and that will eventually react with the water and create weak carbonic acid, and that will increase the acidity or pH decrease the pH value of the oxygen. So atmospheric कहने का मतलब है atmosphere is not the only source of the ocean acidification. Through ground basis sources and through aquatic sources also ocean acidification can improve. The main funda is there, you have to increase the either carbonic acid, nitric acid or sulfuric acid, so that you have to increase the acidic amount in the water, and that lead to acidification. So first will be true, 2 will not be true, so your answer is only 1. But let's understand this process also. You have plankton here that create dimethyl sulfide and eventually turn into sulfate, and that leads to formation of the cloud. In presence of sunlight is often white clouds, it will be reflecting, and dark cloud will attracting the reflected sunlight. So both function, and sulfate aerosol has been very crucial white clouds in reflecting amount of sunlight to the universe back, and keep a lid on the earth and will not have too much of sunlight and warming. And also it creates a you have cloud cover, and then you have to rain. So it is also called as a plankton butterfly effect. So this is a kind of mechanism that is less understood also, and hence scientists are more and more focusing not only on the carbon cycle, which basically disturbance to which basically has led to this global warming crisis, but also a sulfur cycle, because that will eventually create the problem of not enough rain, and also disturbance of sulfur cycle which have impact upon the global warming and ocean acidification. So eventually on the our all life. So not only carbon but sulfur cycle is also very important. Even nitrogen cycle is very important, because that is also and two is also a greenhouse gases. So biogenic sulfur, most of the sulfur in the atmosphere are biogenic in nature, and it also protects us from the global warming, act as a negative feedback which reduce the impact, and also for the cloud formation. So thank you all of you for watching the video, and if you want to have the questions for this video in advance, you can join the Telegram group, and also you will get other benefits like more questions, and also a discussion with the expert mentor. Thank you.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civils Daily.